G'day people, on the wings of the storm, eh? So I want to make a video response to the clip that I'm going to play you, but mainly it's just a statement about why I personally will not engage with the Australian electoral system at this point. So these are my own reasons from the research that I've done that was actually sparked. I mean, I had reasons to begin with, but these are the main reasons now that I can see and that I can document at this point. I might break these videos up into a couple of different parts, part 1 and 2, because I tend to be too long-winded. So we'll see how we go with this one, but initially I want to show the reasons why, and there's several, and they're fairly well documented. Some of them might seem a bit off the cuff, but you can take that as you will. But you'll definitely see my line of reasoning and my understanding of things. I can certainly substantiate my own beliefs. So let's have a look. This is the first clip I want to play. I'll probably play more of these clips too at some point. That shows, sorry, I'm not trying to make any hand signs either, just literally picking the nose. Shows quite clearly one of the reasons why I won't be engaged with the Australian electoral system, and especially voting for the people that are involved in this clip. But for anyone, man, doesn't matter, wouldn't matter if it was, if it was Daniel himself running, I wouldn't engage with the Australian electoral system at all. Anyway, this is the clip, and this is why I'm making this video. This is what provoked me, because I actually thought, when I heard this, I thought, fuck man, why is he talking like that? You see what I mean? I'll give you some commentary as we go through it.
I said to you, I don't care whether you love me or you hate me. I don't care whether you love or hate Ricardo.
So this is Guru.
Makes no difference. But I tell you what, if you do hate me and you think I'm a dickhead, give me a protest vote. Instead of giving it to Labor and Liberal, the two majors, why don't you protest vote, give it to me and vote?
Look at the shirt he's sporting, right? You'll see that as part of the Russian contingent ensigns. That comes into it later.
So think about this one, guys. There's a lot of us people
I am thinking about it, brother.
I get it. Who wants to vote for this? It's bullshit. But guess what? We need you all registered now, and we need you to vote. Okay, that's why I'm hitting the radio stations. That's why I'm getting up to the northern.
So what? From who wants to vote for this bullshit to, so what, we need you all registered now, and we need you to vote. And even the tone of voice he uses is different from his previous statements, from the previous way he was speaking. I'll take it back a bit, check it. Let's go.
That's why I'm getting up to the... Get it? Who wants to vote for this? It's bullshit.
Yeah.
But guess what? We need you all registered now.
We need you all registered. So,
that's why I'm hitting the radio stations. That's why I'm getting up to the northern... But guess what? We need you all registered now, and we need you to vote. Okay, that's why I'm hitting the radio stations. That's why I'm getting up to the northern rivers, because we got a lot of people up in that area in northern New South Wales. They're right behind us, guys, but they don't vote. Okay, and as I said, I said to you, I don't care whether you love me or you hate me. I don't care whether you love or hate Ricardo. Makes no difference to me.
Makes no difference.
But I tell you what, if you do hate me and you think I'm a dickhead, give me a protest vote. Instead of giving it to Labor and Liberal, the two majors, why don't you protest vote, give it to me and vote? Alright? Your protest vote's going to mean something, man. It's not going to be a dick drawn on a bit of paper thrown in the bin, or the word Paul Hogan should be Prime Minister. Okay? Your protest vote will actually do something to make a difference to you. So think about this one, guys. There's a lot of us people who don't vote. I get it. to vote for this. It's bullshit. But guess what? We need you all registered now, and we need you to vote. Okay, that's why I'm hitting the radio stations, that's why I'm getting up to the northern rivers, because we got a lot of people up in that area in northern New South Wales. They're right behind us, guys, but they don't vote. Okay, and as I said, I can't...
Good people, stand your ground.
I don't care.
So after hearing that, I then asked myself the question, whoa, why is he so insistent that he needs us to vote? We need you all registered now, we need you to vote. For him, right? For him and Bosie. Or is that the extent of it? So why be so insistent? And just the way he said it, it's a definite, very definite tone of command there too. It was an edict. He had to say that. It had to be part of his speech. So I thought, why so insistent? What does the Australian government benefit? What do they benefit? The people that are running for Parliament, what do they benefit personally, or from on-flowing benefits from other organisations, departments, corporations, etc. If they can get more people to enrol and get more people to vote, right? So that was the question. So I went looking, and I'll give you a couple of reasons. These are preliminary reasons, so this is interesting. Let's get you out of the way if we can. Dearest. So, I've found this information in more than one place. It's also on the AEC, Australian Electoral Commission website, basically presented in a very similar way. But this is from the Federal Register of Legislation, and it has to do with legislation that was passed about this, right, that enables people to use their green card, their green Medicare card as one of their forms of identification in order to enrol to vote. So this really has to do, a lot of it has to do with locking you tightly into the digital identity, the new trusted digital identity framework and the digital identity system, which is only going to be used for globalised control by the UN and the globalised corporations that run, access, maintain and facilitate the system. But the first thing you need to understand why that they would push for you to enrol and to vote is this reason right here. As of 30th September 2022, an estimated 532,755 eligible Australians were not enrolled. That's quite an indictment against the AEC. That's a number of concern to them. That's quite a significant portion of the population, right? Over 500,000 people who are eligible to are not enrolled to vote. And from what Guru was saying, I was only moving the finger there when I was sliding that off, not trying to cast spells. From what Guru was saying, a lot of those people, a significant amount of those people are in the Northern Rivers area, so he's going to target that area specifically. Hold your ground, people. Do not go back into the Australian electoral system. And if you keep looking, you'll see why. So this is a major discrepancy. This is a significant number of people who are not enrolled and who are not voting. Strong democracy requires all citizens to be able to participate equally. As Australia has a system of compulsory voting, the broadening of eligible categories of evidence of identity documents ensures voting is accessible to all through easy access to enrolment. Right, so they want to get you on the roll, man. Why? Because it has to do with their standing, their rating, their compliance rating, their international compliance rating, which also directly affects their their credit rating, right, on the international stock exchange, to do with the bonds that are certified by the Prospectus of Australia, right? So this is actually a breach of protocol. It's a non-compliance. It's actually a major non-compliance to the Australian system, is what they're showing. It's compulsory to vote, right? Why compulsory to vote within a dialectic, a deliberate auto-abkeo style Hegelian dialectic system, right? Where you're still playing on the checkerboard, man. You right there on the checkerboard. As soon as you contract into this, mate, you're straight back on the checkerboard. And it's worse than that, because they need your compliance, man. They need you to register, mate. You need to be part of their bond and their surety, their assets, right, for their as surety for the bonds that they've taken out, that have been invested into this country, which is, basically this country is in full debt servitude, and that debt servitude is transferred to the citizens as part of the overall prospectus of Australia. And compliance with international ratings. It's like basically like a credit check for a private individual. And this is a non-compliance right here. 532,755 eligible Australians were not enrolled. Good on yous. Good on yous for whatever fucking reason. What if that was 1 million? What if that was 1.5 million? 1,532,555. That would register a major non-compliance to the corporation, man, and certainly send our creditors into a bit of a fucking into a bit of a nosedive, into a bit of a damage control mitigation type situation. Yeah. See, there's always more reasons behind shit than what you fucking see on the surface, so you've got to dig. So that is the first reason, right? The second reason is this one here. Let's flip it back over. Right, Australian funding disclosure in Australian jurisdictions, or election funding and disclosure in Australian jurisdictions, a quick blah blah blah. Right, so you can find a lot more information on this very thing if you just go and fucking Google it and have a look. This comes straight out of the Australian Parliament House.gov.au website, right? So the Australian Parliament House website. New bill that's been proposed. The government's, I don't know, I didn't look yet whether this has been passed, but this information gives you another reason why these people now are pushing you to enrol and to vote for them specifically as well. You can't blame them for that, especially when you realise this. The government's proposed electoral disclosure and funding bill in 2021, discussed above, so you can actually go and look at it and the bill itself, etc. And there's plenty of other information to do with this bill and the disclosure of election funding under these sort of headings and searches that you can do for yourself on Google, right? Would implement a per vote public funding payment for House of Assembly elections where the candidate or their party is elected or receives at least 4% of the vote. So you don't even have to be elected, man. If you get 4% of the vote, you're eligible for this shit. The funding rate would start at $6 per vote and is indexed and will be reimbursed for electoral expenditure. Whoa, so they stand to make $6, at a minimum of $6 per vote, even if they don't get in. If they get 4% of the vote, man, they still get access to that funding. So these guys are actually going to get paid for it as well. I believe they already have access to overseas funding and support, both political and technological support. That is another part of the reason why I would not go back into the Australian electoral system at this point either. But that's for another video. So this is part one. and they are the two preliminary reasons that I found that for myself, for those two reasons alone, that answered my question to some extent. Not to a greater extent, but certainly to some extent, why the insistence now that people who are not enrolled and people who are not voting, why they should vote. In the next videos, you'll actually see that it goes even deeper than that, and there's greater reason that is directly connected with the digital identity system and our overseas standing. You'll see that what I'm saying about us being, the most current information being available about us needs to be made available to our creditors, right, through the SEC, Security Exchange Commission bondage that we're in, debt bondage, which is regulated in Australia by the Australian Security Investments Commission. And you'll see that they have access to certain documentation for that very reason, more than one. Also, the ATO has access to documentation to verify those particular things too. So for these two reasons, I mean, you can't blame a man for wanting to get paid for what he does, but they actually know that they will get paid through this scheme. They're getting paid by the government directly, especially if they get at least 4% of the votes, man. That's on top of the funding that they're already receiving to run their campaigns, etc. Support and funding that they're already receiving from third parties to run their campaigns and influence the people. Part one over.